Today, we've got published author Bailey with us.
Let's get into it.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Paul's Collectibles featuring Bailey. We are excited today because Bailey's book was recently published and we've got her on once again so she can tell us all about it. Bailey, how you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Are you excited?
This is super exciting, and it feels so surreal to have it in my hands and to know like this is out for the world to see. So yeah, I can't put it into words. It's pretty awesome.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to dive right in with some questions because I can't wait to hear more about this book. I'm really excited for you too.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, and I had to write them down because I didn't want to just gush all the time here. So let's go back a little bit before the book, and can you tell me what got you into writing?
So what got me into writing is, and I mentioned this in, Apprentice Ewok's live stream, is the whole lockdown of last year. Mm-hmm. Being cooped up indoors, it really allowed me to delve into like the Star Wars Extended Universe books, and I was able to do a little more reading that I haven't been able to do for several years because of college and just life. And I'm reading these books, and it just occurred to me that I think I can do it. Like, I want to do that. And, I've always been, writing has always come easy to me growing up. Like, I've always, English class and, writing stories and essays have always come easy. So I'm reading these books, and I'm like, I would love to do that. It just kind of came to me like, I think I can do it. And so I just did research, and I was like, what does it take for someone to make a Star Wars book, or just any book in general? Because I know like none of these people that have written books have, they didn't go out the gate running with their book. They had to start somewhere. And I did some research, and a lot of the sources say, you have to, obviously build a reputation for yourself, get a literary agent, find a company that works for you, get published, and it really just depends on how well your book sales go. And so I was like, okay, and so I was thinking, like, even though I had all these, Star Wars stories in my head, I had to kind of go back and be like, okay, well, what is something that I could put out there that could work? And I teach in real life, and it was, of course, I get this idea as the school year was starting, so this was about late July, early August, and I'm like, I'm not going to have time to, really sit there and bust out this 200-page novel. And so I was thinking, because the book is based off my real-life dog, Leia, I just looked at her one night, and I was, oh my god, I think you're the answer.
That's awesome.
I wanted to be strategic about it. I wanted to be smart about it. And most of the sources that I said mentioned, if you produce something that appeals to a wider audience, so like a children's book or something like a family, something that people of all ages could get behind, that's your best bet. So I looked at her, and I'm like, what better idea for a children's story is to tap into that, the fact that, no matter how dark things seem, which, we still live in a very unpredictable world, why not tell a story about, a human's connection to a dog? And so then the idea occurred to me, why don't I just write the story of how I got Leia, my dog, her first few months of life with me through her eyes and her perspective. And I just figured that has to work, because I think it's something that everyone can relate to. People have service dogs for a reason. People have animals for a reason. It's because they are a source of comfort for us. And, as a teacher, I know that kids love animals. Yeah. And so it just, it feels weird for me to say, but it actually only took me a couple days to put this story together. I wish I could say like, oh yeah, it takes several months, but it just came to me. I can't express it enough. It was just like a happy accident. I had an idea, and thankfully something came into my brain. Right. I was able to put it to paper, and then I just submitted it to these companies that, I was interested in, because there's so many out there. You really do have to do your research. And literally 3 days later, I get a call from a company that I liked, and they said, we want to take you on. And it took me by surprise, because when I'm reading through people's testimonies, they're like, it's so hard, you're gonna get rejected, expect that. So I went into this with very low expectations. I put this story and I'm like, let's just see how this goes. And they took it on, and then all of a sudden this happened. So I'm incredibly lucky. It all just started from one idea, and it just spiraled into something amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. That's an awesome story. I like that. So I was gonna ask you what made you decide to get into this topic, but to reiterate, Leia is your actual dog.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. So This is it is based off of a real dog, and maybe we'll pull up a picture somewhere here about what she actually looks like. But yes, this is based off my actual puppy named Leia, and I'm in the story. So that's me and her.
Oh, okay.
And so it really is our story, and to put it into one simple summary, it really is just the story of how I got Leia, and just her first few months with me and her impact on me, because I think a lot of people could say, regardless of how 2020 has impacted you, it was hard. And it's definitely probably the hardest year of my life, and I know that Leia was that beacon of just well, there's some good coming out of this year. And so I just really believe, and I wrote it back here, that this book is a living testament to the power of a dog's love, and I truly believe that that is something a lot of people can relate to, and I hope it does touch a lot of kids, because as a teacher, I do know how much their animals mean to them, and how it helps them understand something very difficult, like the lockdowns.
Well, a little behind the scenes information, there are 2 rescue pit bulls sitting right outside the door to our studio right now who want to be a part of everything as well. So if there's anything I can identify with, it's that last statement. Absolutely. Those dogs have been my wife and I's lives these past couple of months, if not, for the last couple of years specifically, because of everything that's been going on. So I was going to ask you a no spoiler overview of the story, but it sounds like you kind of hit it for me there. It's just kind of like that. It's very
straightforward. Yeah, there's really nothing to spoil, I guess. It's nothing it's not an intense novel at all. It's very easy to follow, and that's how I intended it. I wanted to write it as this is the story of just joy and comfort, and I talked about it briefly, Star Wars to me is a source of comfort, so I wrote this for it something very easily digestible for a young child to understand and to connect with. And yeah, it's very straightforward. It's Leia and I, just how she came to be, and life from her perspective, and that's it. It's very straightforward.
Now, where did the name Leia come from?
May or may not be Princess Leia. And let me tell you, the dog does take on that. She does live up to her name. She is definitely. She would be that dog to be how dare you? Question me on my actions.
She's a sassy little rebel.
She is a rebel, for sure.
Nice. Well, let's see here. You touched on it briefly, but can you just give us, maybe there's somebody out there that is thinking to themselves, hey, I wrote a book, and Bailey's story, in my opinion, is very inspirational. I mean, obviously there was a little bit of luck, but you wrote about something that meant something to you and that you knew about, and so you were able to pour it out in 2 days, and you did a little research, and there, obviously, as you mentioned, there was some luck, but I like to think it's because good things happen to good people, and you were able to get published very quickly. Can you just give us a really brief, really quick rundown of the process that you went through to get published, in case somebody else is thinking, hey, I'm going to give this a shot?
Oh, absolutely. And I can't stress this enough. I've had many people come up to me and say, I have this story that's been in storage, I wrote something, but I've always been too afraid to put it out there. Put it out there. I mean, there really is, there is no harm in just giving it for someone to look at it. The first step is to definitely look into, because like I said, there are hundreds of publishing companies, And so definitely that's the first thing. You want to research a company, and they will reach out to you. Once you put your name out there, you're going to have a lot of emails from people, and you will definitely get a feel of who they are as a company, because I can't tell you, there were plenty of companies that came to me and they were like, just give it. And it was like, well, I don't want to just hand something over to someone who's just seeing me as like, I think you can make me money. Where Fulton Books, this is who took this, they were very genuine and just the most helpful. So that's the first thing. Find a company. They'll ask you to send, they want a completed work. So if you're not done with something, you want to finish that. So they want something that's completed. They, have a panel of people that look over it, and then they typically, from what I've seen, like they should get back to you within a week or so, depending on how long your book is. Like mine's a children's book, so it didn't take them as long to get through as say like a 500-page book, you know. Sure. And they'll call you and they'll say, yes or no. And if it's no, they're supposed to give you insight, like, this is what they'll tell you, like, what did their panel of people have to say? And, they'll normally encourage you to, hey, like maybe tweak a couple things, and we still want to hear from you if they're a good company. Okay. If they are a good company, they will stick with you, and they're not going to be ones to just say no and just never talk to you again. So I can't express that enough. So just put it out there. The worst thing that can happen is they may say, because you have to keep in mind these people are in the business of thinking like, is this something that's gonna be appealing to a wide audience? You always have the option to self-publish, but I think going with a company is better just for the sake of advertising, and it's very hands-off. Like, I had the easy part of just deciding illustrations and whatnot. So kind
of like if you're going to be a YouTuber, if you can hook up with someone who's already got a channel.
Exactly. Like if you could leech off of someone else, do it. Because self-publishing is hard and expensive, and unless someone is really in the market for what you have to sell, it's, your chances of it just kind of depletes it a little bit. So definitely find a company, send it, hear what they have to say, and if you don't get accepted the first time, keep going. Perseverance, yeah. And I think that's the thing, is nobody who has an amazing franchise like J.K. Rowling, George Lucas, they didn't get accepted the first time, so I just say, just go in there I went in with no expectations. I went in there thinking like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get rejected, because this is just something I whipped out. This is purely experimental, so just give it a shot and see what they have to say. And then once they accept you, they normally have someone who's a project manager, and they'll guide you through the process. Like, this is what's happening, and this is when you can expect it. So it's a very laid out process. I think the biggest challenge is overcoming that obstacle, that fear of rejection, I think is what stops people. Okay.
Did you have someone proofread your book before you sent it in? You just, dang girl, you just
no,
hit it up. Huh?
I just put my faith in the force, and I just put it out there. And like I said, I was really surprised when I got that call, and I'm incredibly blessed. But I think, if you have something that's longer, maybe, like, to me, a kid's book, I mean,
not a lot of editing.
Not a lot of editing, and I had enough faith in the subject matter that should be appealing. So maybe I put a lot of faith into it, but there's nothing wrong with having someone else.
As a teacher, you speak kid anyway,
right?
Did that help you think?
It does help, but because I can see, having, I've read other kids' books to them, so I know what they respond to. But there's nothing wrong with having someone with a fresh pair of eyes look at your work, because writing it's not something. It is a mental sport. So when you do produce something larger, like I know people who have novels. You're probably exhausted looking at something. So absolutely, if you feel comfortable enough to share it with someone else that you trust, that you would feel would give you constructive criticism, then go for it. But if not, there's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't cost anything to send your stuff in. Just hear what they have to say and go from there.
Good. Wow, I'm impressed with the entire story, to be honest with you. Wow. Well, we'll wrap it up. But the question I have for you now, Bailey, is now that you've gotten over that, I don't want to call it a hump, but you've got that first book out there. You're riding this high right now. People are responding well to it. You've enjoyed a lot of support, and everybody seems to be interested. What's next? What are you going to shoot for next? You got something on the horizon?
What I'm hoping for, it really depends on how well this does. If this does well, then I'm sure I'll come up with something and, come up with some more original, because, chances are that's not what's going to get me to, writing for Lucasfilm or anything like that. But depending on how well this goes, yes, I hope to, produce another book or two. And, but ultimately, I mean, this is like way out there, but I would love to write my own Star Wars Extended Universes books. I already have like 3 ideas, like that may or may not be like written, and like, so the next step would be like to really put my name out there. Like, okay, I have my foot in the door, so now I just need to keep that momentum.
Right.
And then hopefully later down the line, hopefully I can put my, have my name attached to Star Wars. That would be awesome.
And I would just be honored, since you and I share a last name and we're not even related. I'd still be excited. Well, that's good. I really appreciate you, you being comfortable enough to come on and talk about Leia, talk about the book and the process.
You.
It's been awesome. I know, like I said, everybody has enjoyed it that's gotten it so far. I'm looking forward to reading it as well. So with that, Bailey mentioned it earlier. She was on Apprentice Ewok's live stream today for 3.5 hours. I'll put a link to that down below in case you want to see a larger version of the conversation we just had. I'll also throw the Amazon link for her book down below as well. And we do know for a fact that it's available in the States for sure, and then it's available in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
And most likely it's probably available anywhere Amazon operates, which is pretty much worldwide at this point.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Well, with that, I really appreciate you coming on, Bailey. Thanks everybody for checking out my conversation with Bailey and her new book. And if you're interested, please pick up a copy. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Did I miss anything, Bailey?
No, you hit everything. And I just want to say thank you again to everyone who's been so receptive and supportive of my work. It really means a lot. I can't express that enough. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, with that, we will see you on the next video.